Good morning to all. So we are going to uh, kick off the Informatica Administration course. Um, Basically, you must be aware of Informatica tool, how powerful it is, and how it is leading the data integration area. And it is now a leading tool in ETL, I'd say, because uh, Informatica is such powerful, like it can move a huge chunk of data in smaller volumes with a powerful and effective time. So for that, Informatica administration is a very important area which we are dealing right now. I don't want to go with the Informatica ETL introduction because I assume the targeted audience are already aware of the Informatica tool and have some knowledge with the Informatica client tools. So for them, this Informatica administration part is very important. And what are the modules or what are the things we deal in the Informatica administration? I will just go through, I will walk you through it. So first thing is Informatica architecture. It is very important since Informatica is a service-oriented architecture. It is all a service-driven tool. So architecture is very important for this Power Center tool. And I will give you the product overview and architecture overview and the client components. So Informatica basically contains workflow manager, repository manager, Informatica analyst, and metadata manager, a designer, and monitor. These are kind of client tools we have in Power Center. So I will walk you through the product client components also. After that, the basic administration part and change management. So what basic administration covers basically? Basic administration will take you through the service monitoring. I mean, like I said, Informatica is service-oriented architecture and it is completely driven by services. So we have to monitor these services, and these services should be up and running to avail the Informatica environment to all the end users, like and the change management roles and responsibilities. So in the administration part, for primary level of administration, there are few levels defined, and for the secondary level of administration, there are other roles are defined. So these kind of roles we can define by the administrator itself, and other roles are there like developer, operator, and what kind of roles for a particular person can be given will be discussed. After that, in the second module, if you say it, administration and setup of grid environment. So for any application, installation is very important, and upgradation of that particular version is also uh, important thing to look up. And setup of grid environment. This is an interesting part which Informatica provides in 9x environment compared to 8x. If you see, there are few features added in 9x environment, including grid and high availability. So for every application right now in these days, we are seeing the grid environment and the high availability environment. Uh, what is this grid and what is this high availability we are providing? So um, if you have three physical servers or more than one physical server, if you wanted to set up a multi-node environment, then grid comes into picture, and you can set up a grid there, and you can keep one node as a master node and other nodes as slaves, master slave environment. basically we call it. Um, so we can set up all the other nodes as worker nodes, and one master primary node will be set up. So in this kind of grid environment we can also do in Informatica. And in this grid environment, how we work with the grid, like installing grid, setting up the grid first, and attaching the worker nodes to the grid. And we can also, if you have some version upgrade, if you wanted to upgrade the particular server, how we do it. And also the file sharing is important across the grid, because uh, while these jobs are running, it will make use of the resources as a pool. So grid will create a pool of resources. It will attach all the physical servers and make use of the resources as a pool, and the jobs running on the Informatica application will make use of those pool of resources. So at that point of time, we will get a lot of conflicts, like how we share the files, how we share the resources. These kind of things come into picture, and we will discuss on that also. Load balancing. This is a very important topic, because while the jobs are running on a grid, we never know on which node it is running, or what kind of load distribution is happening on the grid. So these kind of features we can avail in Informatica, and this can be configured on the administration part itself. So this cannot be done by developer or some tester on Informatica. So these are things solely can done by an administrator. And the third point is Informatica repository, how we work with the Informatica repository. For the developers and testers, repository is some one database which can retrieve all the metadata. Yes, it stores the metadata, and it is attached with some Oracle database or some relational database we can attach, and it stores all the metadata, which is helpful for the Informatica application to run. So in this, what are the parts we can discuss? How can we create a repository? How can we set up a repository? And we do also have services like repository service. How can we create it? And we can also create the integration service which is associated with the repository service. And what kind of code pages we set up, what kind of data we are driving, what kind of data we are processing. These kind of things we have to define in repository and repository services. So at that time, and managing repository backup, repository restore after failure, these activities are not a part of daily routine activities, but while we are doing some upgrade, like a version upgrade, you're moving from 8x to 9x, 8.1 to 9.1 or 9.6 or 9.5, whatever. So whenever the version is upgrade is happening, so you're moving from lower upgrade to some higher version. At that time, you have to take all the backup and move or restore into the higher version. So these activities will be done with a particular mode, not an default mode. We can do this. So for this, we have to show, we have to see, do these activities with a particular exclusive mode. So these can be discussed in this part. So working with Informatica domain. What is a domain? A domain is a primary basic administrative unit. So this administrative unit will control all the nodes, whatever we have attached in the grid. It may have an important role to play when we troubleshoot the issues at the domain level. Like if something is happening at the domain level means like if some server is down in a multi-node environment, that server doesn't log anything, that server will not contain anything, any log to troubleshoot or what is wrong with this with that particular node, we never know. So it should be monitored and it should be logged. If I mean if something wrong is happening with that particular node, that issue should be logged somewhere else. And there we see this domain database, a domain page. So in this domain part, we have to uh, we have some responsibilities to work it out. Like some users we can create on domain level itself, and we can also provide some roles and responsibilities to a particular user on the domain database itself. And we can also get node information, node configuration information, and other service information from the domain. And also we can generate some reports, domain level reports, we can also do it. These can be discussed in this part. And going through repository and object migration. So this is fifth module we are discussing, repository and object migration. So this is a part of second level of administration. We have discussed the first level of administration, which includes domain, multi-node environment, where we can create users, services, and we can manage, monitor services there, and uh, all the Informatica components can be monitored from an unified admin web console, which is called Informatica Administrator tool. There we can do all this first level of administration activities. So migration or deployment will come into the second level of administration, which is also not be done by developers and testers. It is the role of administrator to move the code. So it is a part of change management. Like for every firm or for every enterprise environment, it is very important to have the change management or change control to be left into administrator hands, not in developer or tester can make changes in production or test environment. A developer can develop his code in a development environment and can move the code and he cannot move the code to test a production environment. This is the responsibility of administrator who can do this for the developer, because it is a process, it is a part of change control, change management. So these things like deployment process, like how we deploy the development code into test environment and how we review the code before moving the development code into the uh, test environment or production live environment. We have to test the code, how it is working, and we have to validate, review the code before moving it to live environment. So these kind of things, these kind of activities we have to do before we do the deployment. And deployment is a process which can be done, which can be managed by different methods. Like we can import, export XMLs, or we can do from user interface with a conflict resolution control. So copy wizard will be there. We can settle the conflicts there. So this is one method, and import export via XML is some other another method. And we can also copy paste the objects, whatever the objects we can select from the source object, and we can also paste these objects into the target repository. So these kind of activities we have to do in the second level of administration, which can be done over client tools like repository manager or workflow manager. We can do this, We need not to go to this administrator tool to do this deployment process. So, and the very important part, I think, to configure the objects or roles and responsibilities, um, which cannot be again done by developers or testers. We have to create these things, like we have to create users and their privileges. We have to set up what is the responsibility for a particular developer, a particular if you wanted to set up a project, before that we have to write down what are the roles and responsibilities for a particular person we can give. So for a developer, he can access only the development. For an operator tester, he can access only the test environment, but he cannot write anything, or he cannot make any changes in the code for the test environment in production. And the production we have to monitor only. So we just need a read access. So for development, read, write, and execute access should be provided. And Q in test environment and our QA environment, we have to give only read and execute environment. And in production, only read access can be given. If some monitoring team is set up, they can be given execute access as well. So these are the things or roles we can define. User defined roles and system defined roles will be there. So these can be discussed in this part, in this module. And for other projects, for a shared environment or for a global repository, for shared distributed environment, there might be some other projects also be live in that particular Informatica environment. So administrator should make sure no other developer of another project can access the other projects which are live on production environment. So a particular developer can access only his folder, not the other folders. So these should be ensured by the administrator by giving the privileges, whatever the appropriate privileges will be there, those should be given to that particular user to access to ensure only he is accessing his repository, his folder itself. So these things will be discussed. And OS profiling. So what is OS profiling? This is another interesting topic to discuss. OS profiling for banking domain, it is very useful because uh, various geographic regions will be there, and banking operations can be done from various geographic uh, locations, and with various language settings and with various other environmental settings can be done, because one language or one environmental settings which are being used in India or in subcontinent cannot be done, cannot be used in Europe or in Americas. It is different in various geographical. It is based on settings what can be set in Americas, on Europe, APAC, or some other regions. So these kind of settings can be done in OS profile and run the same. I mean, we can run the same code. We need not to remake, or we need not to recreate the particular code for different geographical regions or for different language settings. We can make use of OS profiling to run the same code with different profiles, with different environments. And while creating these users, we can do it in two methods. One is native, another is LDAP. One must be aware of LDAP server, which contains the addresses of the particular organization, like whatever whoever the employees working for that particular organization will be uh, there in LDAP server, will be maintained in LDAP server list. So we can configure that particular LDAP server where the employee list will be there, and we can import all the user list from there, and we can create groups, LDAP groups. and we can also do it on native, like we can also do it locally using this administrator tool. And the next module is service management. So service management is something like uh, creation of application services and its upgrade. So what exactly this application service is and how it works. Application service uh, is basically to drive the data, because to have this ETL process uh, to go smoothly, like to have a smooth transition of data, we need to have these application services, repository and integration service, and other more than 17 type of services are there, like web services, model repository services, metadata services, analyst services, SAP services. These are the different types of services to move the data from the source to target. So, yeah, and to retrieve the metadata from the repository, one service is needed. To drive the data from source to target, one integration service is needed. And to drive the to operate web services is needed. And to analyze the metadata, to profile the data, to query the data, one model repository service is needed, and SAP services is needed to connect with the SAP or CRM data. These kind of different services will be there, application services we call them, and we have to create, as an administrator, we have to create these application services and configure as per our environment requirements. Okay, and the next thing is important thing, Informatica admin routine activities. For a structured support model like L2 team, L3 team, L1 team will be there. A support model will be designed for a particular organization in any domain. Will do a regular activities, like once the admin is in, he has to monitor the services first, and he has to do some regular routine activities, um, can be carried out by the administrator himself. So these are the things we will discuss, like how we do day-to-day activities, how we manage the scheduling activities, what are the schedulers running on the particular environment, how we kill the processes, how we how we monitor the processes. These things we can discuss in day-to-day activities. And review part. This can also be discussed, how we design or review the code design which was developed by some developer. This thing is also a part of day-to-day activity for an informatica administrator or an architect. Okay, these are the topics, these are the main topics we are discussing in this course. And apart from this, some advanced topics can also be included, like metadata management, data quality, which we call as Informatica data quality, IDQ, data profiling. These can also be covered as an advanced topics, which usually most of the admins may not be well versed, or may not be aware of these kind of activities, because data quality, data profiling is very less used utilities or services in Informatica. But there are particular domains like pharmaceutical and farming and other banking domains are using this data quality, data profiling, and SQL profiling and all other data quality, which are essential for those particular domains. So for them, we are covering these three topics also. Apart from that, we are also planning to have a sample project there. So for an administrator, it is much needed to have some hands-on experience before we go with setting up some environment or managing a huge environment. You have to have some hands-on experience. For that, we are planning to set up some sample project, and we will share details very soon about the sample project, how it works. This is all about the course content which we are covering up. Thank you.